Hi, this is Jacqueline here with the GROW program. Thank you for tuning in. I just wanted to just give my congratulations to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. I'm really looking forward to what they have to offer the country. The number one thing is unity. Us coming together and being one as a people. The way it's supposed to be, the way Barack Obama tried to do. He may not have been able to do a whole lot of things. And what people need to realize is that the president is one person. Up under the president, they have a lot of people under them that have their own different agendas and want things done. And he's trying to please the people. He's trying to please the people up under him. So, let's look forward to unity. I look forward to us as a country uniting, being together, trying to love one another. This gives me some hope. It really does. And it gives a lot of people hope. As I watch the people out there celebrating, I realize they're celebrating hope. We suffered for 4 years, and suffering brings about perseverance. Perseverance builds character, and character brings about hope. And so that's what we have now is hope. And people around the world are celebrating with America because people realize that, even through the darkest times, we still came through as a country. We still came through and democracy won. Despite what anybody said, democracy is still alive today. The voting process, the reason why we had so many mail-in ballots was because of the coronavirus. You had people who could not get out to the polling places. You had people who were sick. You had people who were home taking care of sick ones, and they weren't able to get out and cast their votes. So they had to mail in their ballots, and it took a while for all these ballots to be hand counted. So there was nothing illegal about the process. The process, mail-in ballots are legal. The problem was that Donald Trump didn't want them to be used because he felt like people were being mailed ballots who didn't ask for mail-in ballots. I don't know the bottom line of that, but I know that the process was legal. To cast a mail-in ballot is legal. I asked for and received a mail-in ballot, so they're legal. I didn't wind up casting my vote that way, but they mail-in ballots are legal. Okay, so sometimes sitting here and talking in the podcast, like having a conversation, and I think on a lot of things. The spirits talk to me, and the spirits work through me. I've been through a lot here these past really 6 months, but the past 3 months have really been intense. And, I'm going to get all into that. But what I want to talk about really, and what has motivated me more than anything is to ask you if your heart and your mind are together. They have to be. Because, see, you've been beating yourself up against the wall with Christianity, going to church, trying to get it right. But your heart ain't right. You ain't thinking right towards somebody else. You ain't thinking right towards yourself. You're wondering why you're going after relationship after relationship, job after job, goal after goal, but your heart ain't right. You ain't said it right. You got to fix your heart first. The heart is the architect for our actions. It's design. It's the purpose behind everything you do. If you decide you want to do something for somebody, is your heart right? Do you have good intentions for that person? Everything falls back to the heart. So we got to examine our heart. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you something. Think about this. This election, Donald Trump said that when he won the second term, he already said that if he didn't win, that it wasn't going to be, it was going to be illegal. If he didn't win, the election was going to be fraud. And then he said that once he got into his second term, he was going to start locking up a whole bunch of Democrats, just locking up a bunch of people. Barack Obama, James Comey, just locking up a bunch of folks. Okay, and then, but why? Why are you going to just start locking people up just because you don't like them or because you don't agree with their policies? Donald Trump hired a man to come into his office that looked like Barack Obama, to sit him in front of him just so he can tell him he firing him, to pretend like he firing the president. See, so that tells you right there that his heart was never right going into politics. And that's why things are not working out for him. That's why he's getting ready to face some consequences, and different things, lawsuits and stuff, because his heart was never right. He didn't have good intentions for people. He even said that he only represents the red states. Well, who represents the blue states? Where's the president for them? See, Donald Trump, it don't work like that. When you get elected to the presidency, you become the president of the United States. These are not the red and blue states of America. These are the United States of America. See, you didn't learn your history lesson, Donald Trump. You should have went to school and studied a little more. Because even I know different legislative branches of government and checks and balances, but you went in undoing a lot of different things, Donald Trump, that you shouldn't have done. And then you lost the trust in the people. The people don't trust you no more. You just locking up enemies, freeing people, giving favors to your friends. And democracy don't work like that, Donald Trump. And I'm really sorry that things turned out the way they did, for you like this, because you need to learn how to fix your heart. And nobody ever told you that. Your daughter sitting there smiling in your face. She need to tell you, Dad, you need to fix your heart. Your heart ain't right toward people. You don't rip babies from mothers. You don't do that, Donald Trump, especially nursing babies, any babies, but especially a nursing baby, Donald Trump. How do you do that? Your children probably, I don't know if they were nursed or not, but Donald Trump, that's a bond that is there between that mother and that child that you just tore away for life. You ripped it up, Donald Trump, and stomped all on it. Just like that little baby they showed standing there crying. That represents this administration, what you've done to these children. Donald Trump, that psychological damage that's going to last them for the rest of their life. So I hope that you get it right and fix your heart. Because once we fix our heart and our mindset, everything else begins to fall in place. So I want you to remember that, and let's grow. Greatness reached over oppression through wisdom. God bless you.